your wonderful introduction, and also thank you, Team Mindweavers, for this wonderful platform. So, for this today's section, I will be discussing about the various trend and opportunities of rehabilitation psychology. So, from today morning, we have been discussing various career options in psychology. So, in psychology, rehabilitation psychology have a many lot to offer for young professionals. So, this section, as ma'am rightly said, this section has divided into two parts. First part, I'll be discussing about the potential role of psychologists in the field of disability management and rehabilitation. In the second part, I'll be discussing about the various career options for rehabilitation psychology, particularly in Indian context. So moving to the first part, so I'll be giving a brief idea about what is disability all about and what is the magnitude of problem it is. As per the WHO statistics, the more than 1 billion of people in the world living with some form of disability. They experience considerable difficulty in the functioning and the poor quality of the life. This is a statistics based on WHO. So when coming to the Indian statistics, around 2.21 percentage of total population of India experiencing some kind of disability during their life. So why when we discussing about this developing countries, we need to understand this disability in the perspectives of the economical and health condition and also their poor quality of life. So this giving an idea about the area we need to work. When it comes down to Kerala statistics, the recent available survey conducted by Kerala government, Kerala Social Security Mission, they reported around 2.23% of total population experiencing one kind of disability in their life. So it alarming us to look into the field of disability. We need to focus our career. We need to focus our academics in a depth manner. Okay. So that's why I'm giving a small like current status of this disability. So when we look into the disability and rehabilitation field, we need to understand that disability is a multi-dimensional issue. So when we were planning to work with a person with a disability or area of disability, we need to understand person with a disability have a multiple need. So as a professional, we need to address these four type of needs. Basically, the health need. Health need in the sense prevention, early education. I'll be coming to that part. So the health need we need to address. Second, we need to address the social need of the person with a disability. Also the educational need, and also disability is one of the key issue for the social development. So this four dimension has to be like our focus. So as I like people with a disability require, as I rightly said, people with a disability require a wide range of multidisciplinary rehabilitation services and community support to ensure the overall empowerment of them. As a leading member of the multidisciplinary team, rehabilitation psychologist has a potential role for planning and implementing record in integrated disability management and rehabilitation services. So once we look into the disability, when as a fresher or youngsters in psychology, when we look into disability, we need to understand that disability is a heterogeneous group because the disability as per the current act, that's RPWD Act, Right to a Person with a Disability Act, there are 22 type identified disability. So when we planning, we want to work in a disability area, we need to specify which area of disability we want to work. So there are earlier in the previous act, Person with a Disability Act 1995 has specified only the 7 type of disability. When you come to the 2016, this spectrum has been expanded. So this also given that we would like to work in a different area of disability, a different group of disability, and the need and level of service the record will be vary across each type of disability. As because when we work with children with intellectual disability, the type of services, type of assessment, type of rehabilitation intervention might be different when we work with a person with a physical disability. When we
Sir,
work
can
with,
I interrupt you for once, just for a minute?
yes, ma'am. Please.
Sir, yeah, actually, one of our participants has written that if you could go a little slow, then it would be really helpful for them to understand.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So what I'm saying that the disability the concept of disability, the category of disability has to be understood in a heterogeneous manner because their need, their requirements, kind of services, they have a different. So this has to be understood in a heterogeneous group. Another thing, when we planning to work in the area of disability, we need to understand disability in a lifespan approach because, as I rightly said, the need and requirement of child with disability may be different with the child with child with adolescence. So disability with adolescence. So also some person with geriatric population. So the when we planning to work with the disability, we need to specify which area we want to work, whether it's a geriatric group, whether it's adolescence group, whether it's a child group. So the kind of expertise, kind of skills, kind of attitude will be vary across this age group also, across the disability type also. This is the small introduction. So when we planning to work with the area of disability and rehabilitation, as a psychologist, in the area of disability, we need to have a different set of attitude and skill. When we are planning to work in a person with a mental illness, this kind of set of skills, set of attitude might be entirely different when you work with a person with a disability area. So now also, when you, I clearly said there are different type of disability. Suppose we are working with a intellectual disability, we are working with children with a autism spectrum disorder. So their condition might be different. The you might be working in a hospital setup, you might be working in a school setup, you might be working in a community setup. So condition might be different. So you getting a it is giving a big possibility or a spectrum of possibility of career options. Okay. So and also when you planning to work with a disability, you'll be the part of a multidisciplinary team. It is giving an opportunity, same time it give a challenges also. When we work a multidisciplinary team, you will be playing a part of a teamwork. So you need to share your ideas, you need to listen their own ideas. You should be very clear about your boundaries, you should be very clear about your area of expertise. So because most of the centers India and abroad, disability areas specifically focus on, we need to work in a multidisciplinary team. So the interprofessional interactions, the awareness of the boundaries, crossing of the boundary, and the communication pattern has to be your one of the has to be like your key core of professional skills. So gradually, at present, the disability area mainly focus on the multidisciplinary. Gradually, it gone to the transdisciplinary area also. So the multidisciplinary expertise skills has to be one of the key area of skills. So at present, what I already said this. As a rehabilitation professionals, you'll be working with along with a lot of lot of professionals and care groupers. So if you work in a disability, you have to work with the best parents, of obvious the caregivers, the medical partners, their rehabilitation team. Also, you need to work with their community workers because when you plan into a community-based intervention or a rehabilitation, you need to liaison with the various community agencies. You have to liaison with a lot of policymakers. You have to liaison with their educators. So if you cannot uh, restrict your work in the classroom clinical experience. You have to come out of your clinical room, classy AC clinical room to community. So it giving a wide spectrum of possibility. That skill has to be acquired during your career path. So this first part, I said, as a rehabilitation professional, psychologists can work in a four areas. These are the four area I generally prefer. There are other areas also. For time being, I'll be focusing on this four area. Psychologist can primarily work as a case manager, as a therapist. Secondly, he can work as a trainer or training TOT trainers training area. And thirdly, he can work as a research, development, and policy making. And the last is a consultation and administration. So I'll be presenting the each part of this domain. So first, as a case manager, psychologists can take as a different role. First, psychologists can work in a preventive areas, prevention of disability. Secondly, psychologists can work with the early intervention areas, early identification and early intervention. The thirdly is a child development or developmental management area, then rehabilitation area and advocacy. That's five key major task of a psychologist when we come to the rehabilitation. So firstly, as a as psychologists work in the rehabilitation, the primary work will be prevention. As you know that there are different level of prevention, primary level prevention and secondary level prevention and tertiary level prevention. The primary level prevention, we focus on the like parental care, prenatal care work, and the like recently there are a lot of studies as coming, like they are also saying there are we can identify the possible vulnerability of disability during prenatal period, so on perinatal period. So we can have a lot of awareness program, we can have a lot of sensitization program, we can club our awareness program along with the maternal care program, so we can work on the parental care. Second, the genetic counseling program. The most of the medical colleges in Kerala, they have a separate genetic department. There is a provision for genetic counseling. Genetic counseling, we work with the medical professionals. We give a like all awareness and counseling services for the parents with vulnerable genetic conditions. So third is the stress and during the pregnancy. Most of the gynec hospital, they are appointing psychologists mainly dealing with the stress during this gestation period, because the stress during the gestation period have a have a significant impact of the development of child brain. So these are the preventive aspects we can work. The second is the early identification. So early identification depends upon the disability, mainly when a psychologist work in the early identification of development disability. So at present there are a lot of programs sponsored by state government and state central government. They're working for early identification. As you know that every district of Kerala there is a district early intervention center. There is a post of early interventionist and a psychologist. So the task of this early interventionist is like working for early identification and intervention also. So and gradually, and I think next 2 years, every block level and taluk hospital going to start an early intervention center. So a psychologist giving psychologist can be get opportunity for that. So we has to focus on early identification and intervention. There are different type of assessment format. There are different type of screening format. So we can work on that. So early intervention, as I rightly said, but especially children with developmental disability, psychologists can have a multiple role, particularly when as a part of a multidisciplinary team, we can work on their intervention part, we can work on their different level skill training, stimulation training. So this is a big career opportunity. We can work as a early intervention part. So when we come into the specific intervention, as a psychologist, we work on we based on the condition. We have there are a lot of available intervention. This is few list of intervention we already available. The behavioral intervention, social skill training, ADHD management, and remedial training, autism management program, and cognitive training, and cognitive training, and psychosocial rehabilitation. Each program have a different certification program. As a, suppose if you want to work with the children with ASD, there is a separate certificate program as like ABA, uh, compact. There are different type of certificate program. We can be after the PG or after the graduation, you can do a separate certificate program on this area. These are the major area. Along with this traditional way of intervention, psychologists also work with a different type of intervention, more kind of like art-based intervention. You can go refer for play therapy and dance movement therapy, creative art expressive therapy, and these are the common therapies are using in the different early intervention centers. And also some most of the centers are now incorporating this multi-sensory model approach. Some centers are artificially building sensory integration training along with occupational therapists and other speech therapists. Psychologists can contribute this multi-sensory intervention program also. So sometimes we can use our normal settings for this type of group training, group play therapy also. These are the few working areas. So recently, like as most of the neuropsychologists are expressing, like neuro by during the development of this one, क्या बोल रहा हूँ? Like neurofeedback, the brainwave based neurofeedback and computer based intervention. This has given a lot of scope for intervention of ADHD and other IST features. So Nimans Bangalore has already published a lot of paper on management of ASD and other brain-related disorder by using neurofeedback. So recently, we can expect that neurofeedback based intervention can be one of the modalities of intervention. Also, there are a lot of computer-based intervention, particularly this or like software-based learning for cognitive skill, computer-based learning for attention, concentration, memory skill, and also functional academic skills. This easily cheaply available softwares are available. And another computer-based intervention you can see due to the COVID, there are a lot of uh, new coming initiative have started in the form of tele-rehabilitation. It is a mode of tele-rehabilitation. I don't want to go into more into that. So tele-rehabilitation also one of the promising area in the area of disability. So after the intervention, we can also work in the area of vocational rehabilitation, particularly vocational rehabilitation of children with intellectual disability and vocational rehabilitation of person with mental illness and vocational rehabilitation of person with chronic substance abuse. These are the major area we can work in the area of various vocational rehabilitation. Also, we can work with the skill training part also. These are the few example pictures from Kerala. So the second part of our major work is a training. The first we are focused on case management. Second part we focus on training part. As a rehabilitation professional, there are huge need for the training of various professionals. As a young field as a psychology, we can develop various training modules. We can develop training modules, or we can implement to the various stakeholders, particularly the professionals and teachers. Because as you know that in Kerala and all of the like India, there is a system called SSA and Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. Also every panchayat there is a Batsu school. This resource teachers and general teachers record a wide varieties of training program. So it has in Kerala, as per my understanding, last year result more than 2,000 training program has been conducted by the education department. So that for the psychology subject, they depending on psychology rehabilitation professionals. So teachers will be one of the major stakeholders and community volunteers, such as ASHA workers, Angalawadi workers. They record wide varieties of training program and public, mainly the public like a stigma reduction program, inclusive training program. These are the training program. And also the major training target group will be the parents and caregivers because like a parent mediated intervention has been getting more attention during this period. So we can develop various intervention module for parents to address their emotional issue, to address their psychological issue, also equip them to cope with this type of situation. And okay, so these are the training stakeholders. These are the few examples of various training modules developed by our department last few years. The specific package for cerebral palsy, specific package for AST people, and another method, a specific package for creator-based education. These are the package we are developed for particular group of parents. So, and the third is a psycho research area. As a developing academic and professional field, we have a lot of scope for research. Our research mainly focus on developing and modification of existing, developing of new assessment tools, screening tools, and modification and adaptation of existing international culturally based assessment tool, and also developing a culturally sensitive evidence-based intervention module, and also community-based rehabilitation method. This assessment, intervention, and rehabilitation. This three area require a wide scope of research. So if you would like if you would like to go for a research also, so rehabilitation is one of the major area. The last one, the consultation and administration. So as you know, currently most of the government policies, government programs are looking for evidence-based policy making. Earlier, administrators designed the program on the basis of their experience and field report. The last 10 years, there was a paradigm shift happening in the policy making. So now all international and national level policy making based on the evidence from the field. They take evidence from the experts. So when we're planning for whenever they are planning any type of intervention or any type of like empowerment social measures, they look evidence from the rehabilitation field. So disability, one of the primary focus of any welfare state. So we can develop lot of intervention module, assessment module, and policies. It will be contribute for the administration and consultation. So I know most of the rehabilitation professionals, they are closely working with the district level administration and state level administration. They are extending their support for designing various type of social social welfare measures and education technology in educational method, and also therapy centers. So this we can work as a policy makers also. These are the major four key areas of psychologist. So the second part, I'll be briefly discussing about what are the scope of rehabilitation psychology. Suppose if you want to be a rehabilitation psychology in India, there are two methods. Okay, but the primary method is you have to opt after post graduation. You have to opt MPhil rehabilitation psychology. The second method, there is a postgraduate diploma in rehabilitation psychology. So if you want to be a rehabilitation psychology, the primary option is MPhil rehabilitation psychology. MPhil rehabilitation psychology is RCA approved program. The syllabus, curriculum, everything is recognized and validated by RCA. RCA recognized centers are the running this program. It is a 2-year full-time clinical program. During the 2-year program, you will be posted in a different type of rehabilitation setting. Initially, you'll be posted in child development center. You'll be posted in a vocational center. You'll be posted in psychosocial rehabilitation center. You'll be posted in community-based rehabilitation center. So you get that type of exposure for the assessment and planning and assessment, planning of intervention and implementation of intervention, and also policy making. So generally, the qualification of this program will be post-graduation in psychology. There will be entrance exam. The major center conducting this program is a NIPID, National Institute of Empowerment of Person with Intellectual Disability, Secunderabad, previously known as NIMH. Now is Secunderabad. It is a major center for this one. The second option is a postgraduate diploma in rehabilitation psychology. It's a diploma level program. It is a 1-year program. 1-year program since this or the after completion of the post graduation, you can focus on the clinical part. You can go for a research on training or teaching. It mainly focus on the clinical part only. Similarly, as a MPhil, during this program also, you will be getting experience from child development area and also adult psychiatry also. Generally the qualification is a graduation. So, but in Kerala, there's only one center offering this program, but Calicut University Department of Psychology. They they have 15 seats of this program. So, in 2 years back, this qualification category has been changed. If you completed a postgraduate diploma in rehabilitation psychology, RCA will give a title of a rehabilitation counselor. Earlier, it was a rehabilitation psychologist. Last 2 years back, after the revision, the category has been changed to rehabilitation counselor. You can work in a same settings, but you can go for a teaching and research and higher academic pursuit with this one. These are the two prominent program. Along with this two program, if you want to work with a disability on the rehabilitation area, there is another program called postgraduate diploma in early identification, PGDI. It's a 1-year. I think it's a 2-year program. Chennai NIPID is offering this same program. By completing this program, you can work as an early interventionist. Okay. So, what are the target population? After completion of the rehabilitation psychology program, you can work with the children with a disability. Children with a disability, male primarily, you can work with the children with a development disability, intellectual disability, ISD, autism, learning disabilities area. Another, you can also work with the brain injury, spinal cord injury, particularly for cognitive rehabilitation. You will be posted as a part of a multidisciplinary rehabilitation team. So, and also another major area, you can work with a psychosocial rehabilitation team member in the mainly focus with the mental illness, because most of the chronic psychiatric illness require a long-term rehabilitation. So you'll be playing a part of a psychosocial rehabilitation home. As per my understanding, in Kerala itself, there is around 125 psychosocial rehabilitation home. You can work on that area. Another major area, geriatric population. So, and also chronic pain and medical condition also you can work. So these are the major centers generally a rehabilitation psychologist post. Primarily a public and private child development center. Uh, for your information. So at present, Kerala, every district there is like a district level early intervention center. Not only Kerala, every state that has program as a part of RBSK, and it's going to be like the number going to be like doubling next year. So scope also increasing. Also, we can work with the vocational rehabilitation center and skill training center, and you can be part of a hospital team. There's a neuro rehabilitation or PMR rehabilitation, and also you can work in a psychosocial rehabilitation center, mainly primarily for the person with mental illness, and you can work with the head injury centers. Most of the head injury centers, particularly AIMS, or they have rehabilitation psychologists. Also, as a part of CBR professional, you can work with the community mental health centers and a geriatric center. And also, if you are a MPhil qualified rehab psychologist, you can work you can work in various academic institutions, particularly national institutions and universities and teaching centers as a researchers, as a program developer, as a teacher. These are the various career options for a rehabilitation psychologist. So I hope within the short span of period, I had completed my presentation. So thank you, team. So if you have any stories or
Thank you so much, sir. So it was very informative, and I could personally learn so many things. So there are few questions from the participants. So one of the participant wants you to explain a bit more about vocational rehabilitation. So if
okay,
you could do
great.
that.
So vocational rehabilitation will be the part of your all spectrum of rehabilitation process. So after the completion of their educational rehabilitation, we give training for the various skill training. But before the vocational rehabilitation, we need to give a training for the pre-vocational skill training program. That means there will be a skill training program, skill training of cognitive skills, ideal skill. Then you focus on the vocational. We have the patient to identify suitable job, suitable employment opportunity through the rigorous training. There are different type of employment type for a person with a disability. It will be supportive employment. This will be like a shelter workshop. So in vocational rehabilitation, you will be giving the training for the person with a disability, any type of disability, to identify the suitable job and also support to sustain their job as a mean for their social empowerment, because vocation is not only a means for getting money, it also scope for getting social interaction, and also like a means for social identity. Mainly we work with adult in vocation area.
Yes, yes. Sir, another question we have got is that for in Calicut University, 1 year diploma, for
Yes,
studying 1 year diploma in Calicut University,
exactly.
is it mandatory to have a postgraduate degree? And what should be the specialization in the postgraduate degree?
So as per the prospectus of Calicut University postgraduate diploma rehabilitation psychology, this PG is the qualification, PG qualification, and a specialization not a like criteria for selection. There will be a entrance exam based on your PG syllabus. So this PG is the main qualification. No need to focus any specialization.
Okay.
There's a 15 seat at present.
Okay. And sir, like another question, what qualifications are required to work abroad as a rehabilitation psychologist? What is the minimum qualification?
So as I discussed in my presentation, MPhil rehabilitation psychology is the primary education qualification, professional qualification for to become a rehabilitation psychologist. So earlier the PGDRP, the postgraduate diploma rehabilitation psychology, also get the same rehabilitation title. Now it's changed to rehabilitation counselor.
But sir, in like as for my knowledge goes, in after completing diploma, does we get an RCI registration? Because I think it is
Exactly.
required for becoming a rehabilitation psychologist. So
So the PG diploma is a diploma level program. After
okay,
completion of this 1 year full-time clinical posting, you'll get a RCA registration.
okay, okay, okay,
You'll get
okay.
a RCA registration
It's
because
not necessary that we have to do MPhil only.
no, This is a diploma level program.
Right, right.
It's a 1 year program only.
Right, right. Yes. Sir, another question is my personal question.
Yes.
If you can throw some light on how parents or teachers, how can they handle the students who are suffering from this disability?
Okay.
So,
You might be focusing on children with intellectual disability.
yes, yes, intellectual disability or learning disability, hearing impairments, whatever.
So it's a broad question you are asking.
Yeah.
Like so, there are a set of well structured evidence based techniques for management. So the addressing the parental issues, there are a lot of module available. So you can refer to our website. There are university website for we have developed a various intervention module, primarily the parent mediated interventions. We have the parents to address their basic needs. So during the COVID also, we have a different type of intervention module. So there are modules available. Like the wide spectrum of available techniques are there.
Okay, okay.
Addressing their psychosocial as a psychologist, one primary question. As a psychologist, as a mental health professional, it is our primarily duty to address their emotional need also. Because
Definitely.
other rehabilitation professionals is focusing on their other aspect, the physical, the speech, and other sensory area. Psychologists, same time, they have to address the cognitive need of the child. Same time, we need to address the emotional and psychological need of the parents also.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the parents are actually they are dealing with these children for a
Yes,
longer period
sadly,
of time, and they are also going through
sadly,
too
ma'am.
many mental stress.
Of course.
So that
So,
can be a major factor. Yes.
of course.
Yes. So, sir, one question, it's a very basic question, has been asked by one of the participants is
Yes.
what is the difference between clinical psychologist and rehabilitation psychologist?
This main area because the duration and everything will be same, but the focus of rehabilitation psychology primarily on disability area, disability and rehabilitation. When you come to the clinical psychology area, clinical psychology will work with the person with mental illness and also all type of mental illness and not non recorded for a disability, because all mental illness will not lead to rehabilitation and will not lead to a disability field. Uh, Rehabilitation psychologists mainly work on the disability and the rehabilitation part itself. That's the main difference. And the training part will be different. Okay.
Yeah.
There are overlapping field. I would like to appreciate that, but still there is a area for there's a gray area in between this. But mainly the primary technical difference is the rehabilitation psychologist will work area of rehabilitation process and also disability work.
Yes. So, sir, if you could just throw light on the geriatric population, the geriatric rehabilitation. So, personally, I don't know much about it. So, if you could just explain a bit about it.
Okay, as you know that in Indian population there was a studies came in 2019. Indian population getting gray. As compared to developed countries, our population also the volume of geriatric population increasing. So due to the development the healthcare area, the lifespan life cycle has been expanded. Okay, so the quality of their life has been however the quality of life has been reduced. So to adjust it with the expected age related decay and atrophy, we need to design and develop various type of intervention, particularly cognitive rehabilitation. So I'll give you one area. Suppose in after the 16 we can expect an age related atrophy of the cerebral cortex. Okay, so due to that there will be a possibility of memory cognitive decline. So we can give an intervention for a cognitive retraining method. And also we can give a like psychosocial support to adjust with their lot of decline, the changing their identity and the role after retirement, after the family change. This type of psychosocial support and also rehabilitation in the sense the this one so psychosocial rehabilitation also works. The cognitive retraining another method, psychosocial support is another method, and employ this one cannot carry the shelter rehabilitation another method. So ageism and age-related stereotype belief, all these type of scope of geriatric population. Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. And sir, another question is, can rehabilitation psychologists give counseling? So I think yes, definitely.
Of course,
Of
because
course.
counseling is one of the tool all mental health
Yes.
professional, all rehabilitation professionals will use. So there is no difference as such. It's only one tool in the our process.
Yes.
But there is
And
a particular area rehabilitation counseling as such. Rehabilitation counseling process is there.
yes. And another participant has asked that some hospitals have psychologists for patients who have undergone major surgeries like open heart, etc.
Exactly, exactly.
So, is this part of rehabilitation as well? And what specific educational qualification is needed for helping in this direction?
In most of the hospital higher surgery center, they used to post a psychologist for post surgery counseling, pre surgery counseling, because we need to equip the patient to cope with surgical procedure because they may be reluctant to the surgery. So there will be a supportive counseling before that, and after the surgery, we need to give two type of intervention. Second, will after surgery there will be a lot of trauma, a lot of stress to adjust with that trauma. Generally, health psychologists used to work. So, particularly in the case of nephrology, the kidney surgery, the area of brain-related surgery, rehabilitation psychologists can work in the area of cognitive retraining, and also we can work as a psychosocial support program because adjust with the stressor and all this type of issue. So we can work. So there is no specific criteria for education qualification. So most of the area, the training in the area of this rehabilitation, that's the main must when you work into the hospital setup. So when you want to work with a spinal cord injury patient, at least you have a training in the area of cognitive retraining method. Okay.
Definitely.
This is still gray area. There is no specific education criteria specified by any government agency for that. Okay.
Yes.
So when you come to the disability specifically, so RC have given a mandate that the person has to have some sort of registration of licensing. This area is still open for discussion. Okay.
Sir, if you just could just give us an idea about that, where in which sectors we can work more by being a rehabilitation psychologist. So, what are the
So,
job sectors, job
so,
opportunities?
so what I specifically recommend for the young professionals. So by understanding the current trends, the area of health and social welfare in Kerala and other India, there are a lot of opening coming up for the area of development disability. So as I rightly mentioned, every district there is a scope for a district level early intervention centers coming. Kerala already have a 14 centers, and all the state are going to implement the same program. And also every BRC block level resource center are going to post a rehabilitation psychologist. So if you want to work with the children with a disability, you should have some mandatory qualification of rehabilitation psychology. This is one of the good area. This is the main focus. So I will recommend to focus on child development disability, and another area is a geriatric population and spinal cord injury. So most of the neurosurgeons are going to post psychologists, rehab psychologists as a part of their rehab team.
And sir, what is the this is of our interest, definitely of interest of youth, that what is the salary range that they can expect?
So generally, because you work with a project, most of the programs implement as a part of the project work. So in Kerala, as a rehabilitation psychologist, its salary is more equal to the psychologist. Most in last 2 years from our department, the more than 25 students are passed out. Most of them are getting around 25 plus. Okay. I know this it is less compared to the education qualification. Gradually, this field get momentum because still in the rehabilitation field in the beginner stage, um,
Yes, it is
it's
still
not
growing. It is
still
still
growing. It's a beginner stage. With their service has to acknowledged by the government. There is no PSC post in Kerala and government, so there has to the rehabilitation psychologist has to advocate for that work also.
yes, exactly. Any more questions from anyone? So I think sir has already summarized the topic very well, and it has been. I did not know many things about it, but sir really made it clear for us. And one of the questions, sir, that we got is, do we get a tag of doctor after completing MPhil in clinical psychology? No, it's not the case.
I don't need to. I don't need to give answer for
It's
that.
not the case.
But don't
Yeah.
worry, the patient will be address your doctor, or you'll get due respect. Getting
Yes,
more than
patient
getting a,
address.
yeah.
That is also after you complete your master's in clinical psychology. When you see patients, they treat you as doctor.
Okay, that kind of respect you get from the
Exactly,
patients
exactly.
because
But
yourself
yeah,
also involved there.
yes,
So
yes,
it giving more satisfactory work.
exactly.
So I'll encourage the patient to look into the various possibility of rehabilitation. So you can work not only the child area, you can work in adult and adult population, adolescent populations. So like rehabilitation psychologists have more potential as like clinical psychology and other specialty of psychology. Explore this opportunity. So I hope psychology have a wonderful future.
And rehabilitation psychology is still not there in many colleges and universities. Like I'm from Kolkata, so it's only there in Calcutta University. It was
Yeah.
there, it is not there now.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it has to be, introduced in many universities and colleges, because the if everyone is rushing after clinical psychology and organizational psychology, the scope becomes very narrow, I feel.
Okay, I think after the conference, the organization can write to the different universities and college, encourage to start this type of program because
Exactly,
it's the need of our. Why
exactly,
understand the industry? Because when we planning to develop a course or implement a course, we need to identify the need of the industry. So we can campaign with the teachers and policy makers, syllabus makers to introduce this type of course in university. And most of deemed universities are not now starting the program. I think Amity has started a few rehabilitation programs so far. And
yes, yes,
Amity,
yes.
Sigar, I think Christ also going to implement same
Hmm,
program.
hmm.
So I think I hope our private this government university will take this initiative.
Yes,
That's why we started in the University Calicut way back to 2 years back. Okay.
yes, yes, yes. So one of the question is, if after completing PG and diploma in rehabilitation, can the council people also, like other than people with difficulties and disabilities? So definitely they can,
I
I
didn't get
think.
the
Like after completing PG and diploma in rehabilitation, can they counsel normal people, like people other than difficulties, other than disabilities?
From my understanding, the PG is okay. PG is enough for to become a counseling psychologist. If you are there,
Yes, yes,
if you
yes.
get
Counseling.
suppose in one condition, they has to get adequate training during this PG.
Yes, yes, yes.
PG is enough for becoming clinical psychologist unless they are required a adequate training program for that.
Yes,
There is no
yes, yes. So
mandate.
after PG, we can definitely counsel someone, but
Hmm.
yes, we cannot be a clinical psychologist or a rehabilitation psychologist.
Of course, this is very
Yes,
clear. This
yes.
is our law as per the existing law of the country. This PG is enough for becoming a counseling psychologist.
Exactly,
That.
exactly. Sir, if you could elaborate your journey on
Uh,
rehabilitation psychology, some of the experiences that you have gone through.
Okay, actually, by profession, I am a trained clinical psychologist. You know that.
Okay, okay.
You read that.
Yes.
So, in 6 years back, we started a one program called CDMRP. So, there are a lot of requirement from the community for a rehabilitation need. So, we have started a small program. It's called with the support of state government. Then now we have around 11 centers in northern Malabar. So, a group of 45 rehabilitation professionals are working over there. Around 12 clinical psychologists are working over there, including rehabilitation psychologists. So it is a satisfactory journey. So we work in the intervention area, we work early intervention, we work in the training procedure, we work the research area. So this is one of the top area. And more as a person you ask, it gives a more satisfaction too, because whenever you work with a close work with a needy person, we are extending our subject expertise to them, giving a satisfaction level more than a monetary benefit. We can place ourselves into more of a like a therapist over there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank you. It was
everyone,
wonderful.
for being so patient. And thank you, sir, for enriching us with your knowledge and everything.
Thank
It
you.
was a wonderful session. Um, so this is how we end the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.